Was everything that we have seen of recent predicted? This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to get into some rather amazing stuff that I discovered with my researcher. It's going to blow your mind. All right. It has to do with, of course, this all being predicted. What we're seeing with USAID, that was predicted. What we've seen all of recent with Hollywood and how it's essentially fallen. I'm going to show you some stuff that just is unbelievable, actually. And it shows you how they were even telling us all this in their movies as well. And how it all relates to something that was written about over 100 years ago. Actually, there's numerous texts I'm going to show you where they showed their plans and how they were trying to bring their plans to pass, how they almost did it, and how God stopped it. All right, that's what we're going to get into in this video. I know it sounds like a lot. But of course, I showed recently on my other channel this video of the Matrix where we have here, of course, Neo and Morpheus is explaining to him that the Matrix is a system that's built around us.
When you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
Now, of course, what's interesting about this clip is they entitled it, "The Matrix is a System, Neo." Now, of course, when you watch the movie, it looks like what's the system, or what the Matrix is the world around you, right? This virtual reality construct, but that's not what he said. He said it was a system, and you saw he was going against the flow of the system. So the system is actually created by man. And of course, it's programmers behind the system in the movie, but what's being said is that this world we live in, it's not the physical world around you that is your cage. It is actually what they've created the world to be with all the systems in the world. And so this is what a lot of people don't understand. So of course, what's also interesting is the word matrix comes from the word the womb. We see it in Exodus 34:19. It means in Latin, the word means in Latin womb. And of course, that is a female thing. So interestingly, that's also another factor. A lot of people don't understand this, but we're living in a female, of course, world at this point. What does that mean? So that's what we're going to get into in this whole video. Here is a prophecy from Mark, Taylor, the Babylonian prison. And it talks about how the church is in this prison. It's not just the church, it's the world itself. And again, this comes back to something I've talked about numerous times before, that we're living in the age or eon of the devil. And actually, it's the age of Horus. But actually, that age is now ended. And so we're going to get into what the devil was trying to do. I'm going to show it in precise detail. You're not going to believe this. And how God said, no, we're going to end this right now. We're entering into the age of Goshen, a golden, of course, age. You've probably heard that phrase of recent. Even our president has been saying that. And I'm going to show you where that came from. That was prophetically said as well. And I'm going to show you all of this stuff in this video. So what's really interesting about it is over the world, or our sort of governmental type of system, is Baal. And over the church, it was Jezebel. This is kind of the concept. So these two had to be defeated for us to be released from this prison. Now, before the devil could even get us in this prison, he had to change essentially how people thought, how the world worked, and make it to where people could not actually fully mature. And this comes back to Aleister Crowley, where he talks about this will be the age of the child. Starting from 1904 onward until about very recent, we were under the age of the child. Now, of course, when I say age, there's different types of ages. There's 100-year ages, there's 500-year ages, there's 1,000-year ages. And when I say the age of the child, I'm referring to a 100 approximately year age. When I refer to the age of Horus, that was a 500-year age. It started around 1440. Now, of course, what's interesting about this is we're now entered into a different 500-year age, the age of Goshen. This was not part of the devil's plan. I'll show you what the devil's plan was. We're going to get into that as well. It's very interesting because they were already trying to bring the next age to pass after the age of the child, and they failed miserably. And you're starting to see it all come out now. USAID, for example, is a perfect example of this. And on top of that, Hollywood completely failing with their woke stuff. That's another example of how they failed to go from the age of the child to the next age that they wanted. The next age that they wanted is called the age of Themis. And I'm going to get into that. And I'm going to show you how they even showed it in movies. Matter of fact, they showed it in this movie right here with Wonder Woman standing on the Statue of Justice, a female warrior standing on the Statue of Justice. I'm going to show you that clip. Is exactly what they wanted for this next age. This is exactly what they wanted. Social, of course, justice, and it failed miserably. So the devil had failed completely. So I'm going to show you how all this works in this video and much more. First of all, I got to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth for $8.08. This, of course, is the deluxe package. It includes twice as much variety of food. It includes more calories per day. And obviously, when you're going through the apocalypse, you might want to enjoy your food a little bit more. So there's more variety, not just 5 items, right? It's $8.08 for 3 months worth. Link is in the description. Also, this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, How to Build a Cellar, Do Things Around the House Like They Did in the Good Old Days, hundreds of pages illustrated. You're going to definitely want to get that if you have not already. Link is in the description for that as well. So, editor, we're going to get into a ton of stuff, like I said. Let's get into this. First, I wanted to mention that there was a prediction 2,000 years ago in the Sibylline oracles about this current time. And what's really interesting is how accurate it is. I've read this before. I've shown this before. Let me not live when the gay one shall reign, but when the heavenly grace shall rule within, and when the holy child, the murderous guile of all shall utterly destroy with chains. Now, right here, notice what it says. Okay? Scroll down. Opening the baleful deep, and suddenly the house of wood shall cover mortals round. But when the 10th generation shall go down to Hades, then shall come the mighty power of the one of the female sex. This is the one that reigns. A woman, a female, of course, who, is lesbian. And now just think about that. Whenever in the last so many thousands of years has that ever happened where you had a female who was also, gay? When have you ever had that? Someone reigning that was both of those two things ever in the last 5,000 years? Never happened until now. Am I wrong? And it says right here, will permit many evils to increase when she with royal honor crowns herself, and all the year will be like an age, the parched sun running onward nightly shines, the stars will leave heaven, and rushing on with a strong tempest, he will waste the earth, and there shall be a rising of the dead. So this is talking about literally the last time, at the end, okay? It's talking about when everything's done. That's when she will reign, okay? Does that make sense? This was in the Sibylline oracles, and it talks about our time. We are entering into the age of Goshen. This is when he would come back. Sometime, I don't know. I'm not going to be sitting here predicting whenever he comes back, but it will be in this age. But this age is not how they described it. It's not the way people think it is. Okay? A lot of people have a certain paradigm that they put out there. Oh, it's just going to get worse and worse. Nothing good's ever going to happen. It's just going to get worse. And then we're going to get beamed out of here. This is the common thing that's taught. And I'm going to show you how actually that is not correct. I'm going to show you how it's not correct. We're not in the timeline everyone thinks we're in. Okay, let me show you this. I got it around here somewhere. Yep, there it is. I just saw it. Too many windows open. Is it this one? Yeah, here it is. So, check this diagram out. This is actually very accurate. We thought we were here, but we're actually right here. Okay? So everyone's thinking that the millennial kingdom has never happened yet. And then we've been waiting 2,000 years for him to come back. When actually that already happened during the Middle Ages. And now we're actually in the little season after the Middle Ages when he goes forth to deceive and conquer, which is, of course, exactly what he did. Now we're entering into the time after that, when he comes back the final time and everything's over. That's the time we're actually going into. Okay? This is what a lot of people don't understand, but this was intentional. This was all designed intentionally for everyone to be deceived. It even says in Revelation that he will go forth to deceive all the nations, everyone. They won't even know where they're at in time. They'll have no clue. It says that he will change the times and seasons in Daniel. He exactly did that. We used to have something called the AM1 calendar. You can look it up on the Encyclopedia Britannica. You won't be able to look it up on anything else. You go to Google, you type in, what is the AM calendar? It will give you the AM3 calendar. It will never give you the AM1 calendar. You have to go to Flavius Josephus, the Septuagint. You got to go to books from the 1980s, like the Encyclopedia Britannica, to even look it up. Almost no one believes in it because no one knows about it. That was the original calendar. Been scrubbed. No one knows about it. It's kind of amazing, actually. It says that we're in the year about 7,540 or something. I can't remember the exact number. I don't want to go look it up right now, but it's basically 7,540 approximately. That's what year we're in. Now, if you go look at the Jewish timeline calendar, which is AM3, which is a modified one, they'll tell you we're in like something like 5,780. I'll show you right now. I'll go look it up and show you what I'm talking about. If I can just get this thing to load. There we go. Hebrew timeline, Hebrew calendar year. There we go. They'll tell you that we're in, and that's not what I mean. Hebrew date, year, Hebrew year. I guess I just don't know how to write it right. Hebrew year. What year are we in? 5785. This is what they claim we're in. We're not in that. We're in 7,540 if you go off the original timeline, which of course everyone believed 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Just everybody for some reason today doesn't believe it anymore. So that's something that I've covered before. We're not in the time that you think we are. Now, what's interesting about the AM3 calendar is if you read the Apocrypha and you know the AM3 calendar, you're going to think that he's going to come back around. So let me show you what's going on here. This is interesting. So the Hebrew year, right? You look at this Hebrew year, 5785. If you read the Apocrypha, it tells you that he comes back at 6,000. So if you believe this calendar, it would mean he's going to come back in about 215 years. A lot of people don't even know that. I mean, if you look at the Apocrypha, it tells you he comes back at 6,000. I've shown it before. Actually, I think I have it open over here. And I'm not trying to get into all this right now. I'm trying to get into something else. I don't want to get into this huge rabbit trails because it'll take me forever to explain all the stuff I want to explain here. But the point is that if you use the wrong calendar, which is what everyone uses currently, you'll think he's coming back in 215 years if you use the Apocrypha. Okay? But if you actually understand where we're at, the actual real year, we're 500 years after the millennial kingdom. We're in 7,540 or something. And we're already 500 years after it. We're in the little season. We're already almost at the end of the little season. So, where we are at the end of the little season. That's why we're going into the golden age or the age of Goshen. Now, let's get into some of these other things because I don't want to keep going into that. So, as you can see, this is a perfect example. I showed you the Sibylline oracles, how it talks about who will rule in the last times. And it will be, where is it at? I already lost it. Here we are. A woman that's, of course, gay, right? So what's interesting is if you look at like Hollywood, what do you get all the time? That's what's promoted everywhere. It's also the female. Check this out. So, of course, this clip is about Snow White. This is Rachel Zegler talking. I think this is Gal Gadot right next to her, which, of course, plays Wonder Woman, which I'm going to show you that clip later with the Justice League. But this is about Snow White. She's talking about the story of Snow White, saying how the prince ain't going to save me. It's not about him. It's about me. And so it shows you it's all about, of course, women. We are, of course, the power now. That's what is being said or conveyed in this. I'll just play it and you'll see what I'm getting at.
That is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
So, of course, not dreaming about true love. Doesn't need you. Doesn't need, of course, the man. I'm better than that. I don't need it anymore. See what I mean? So this is, of course, exactly what the sibling oracles predicted. Who will reign? Of course, it's a female, and it's one like this. Don't need a man. See what I mean? Perfect example right there. You have, of course, the USAID, which, of course, is essentially controlled by the three-letter, agencies, and was being told what to do. And they're trying to promote things that they wanted to be around the world. Notice some of the stuff that they were funding. You have ESG. You have DE, of course, I. That relates exactly to what we're talking about. Trans opera, transgender comic book, BBC. You see all these things being promoted. They were purposely trying to push this, of course, all around the world. Why? Because this was part of the devil's agenda. Where did this all come from? Iowas. Aleister Crowley spoke to literally the devil. That was his name. And that's what, and we're going to get into, I'm going to show you that in a minute. All right. And what he said, what this age was going to be. I'm going to show you how they laid it all out. They said everything and they tried to bring it to pass, and everyone just completely ignored it while it was happening. And so, of course, here's an example of how the world is rejecting their new age. So they were trying to go from the age of the child to the age of Themis, all right? So that's what they're trying to move us to, and they failed. You can see it very clearly when you look at the results. You saw her say what she said about Snow White, and here is the result of what she said. 1 million thumbs down. Everyone's rejecting this change. They're rejecting the age that the devil was trying to bring us into, the age of Themis. So they completely failed. But at first, they actually were successful in changing us into the age of the child, which Aleister Crowley was talking about from 1904 onward. Society was turned into a children where they never grow up and actually take responsibility. They're all very individualistic minded, not thinking about their brother, love thy neighbor as thyself type of mindset they had instead. Very selfish, individualistic mindset. The idea was to change us and change the entire world to be children, of course, of the devil. Once you're a child in your mind, you're not able to get out, of course, of this, prison. That was the idea. So it says here, we're supposed to be innocent as doves and wise as serpents, but the devil actually completely reversed it and made it evil as serpents and as foolish as doves. That was kind of his mindset of making us into sort of people that don't know how to behave correctly. And I can show you what I'm referring to here. So, okay, well, I'll show you that in a minute. I got so many things. I'm going to show you a lot of stuff, actually. I'm going to have to backtrack after I show you this because I got a million things in front of it. Okay, so here it is. I finally found it. So here is Aleister Crowley's writing on this. I've shown this before on one video. How we're entering into the age of the child. Okay? The Aeon of Horus entering into the age of the child is not merely a symbol of growth, but of complete moral independence and innocence. We may then expect the new Aeon to release mankind from its pretense of altruism. Altruism is where you think of others before yourself. Kindness, generosity, doing things for others that need things, being kind. Love your neighbor as yourself, essentially, is what it is. And instead of you being that way, you become completely individualistic, selfish, thinking only about yourself. That's what they wanted to make you into. Its obsession with fear and it's consciousness with sin. They wanted to get rid of your consciousness of sin, meaning you don't even see it as existing, or it's not a big deal. You see all these ministers falling left and right. You see how the world doesn't care at all about it. It will possess no consciousness of purpose in its own existence. So instead of you actually having a real lofty goal or important goal in life, you're just thinking about, what do I get to eat today? What can I have for myself? Extremely selfish, shallow stuff, right? It will not be possible to persuade it that it should submit to incomprehensible standards. So they won't want to have any standards whatsoever. It will suffer from spasms of transitory passion, meaning you won't be able to control yourself. You'll just do whatever. I can't stop sinning. That whole thing that they say, the Calvinists talk about, total depravity, can't stop sinning. That's exactly what the devil wanted for this age. It will be absurdly sensitive to pain. Won't be able to suffer in any way, shape, or form. Be affected by nothing, which we see now people going to counselors over nothing. Oh no, we got this new president. I can't, my whole life is destroyed. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? That's the kind of mindset. This was written in 1904. When was this written? I think, it was a little bit after 1904. It was written 100 years ago, basically. And he's talking about basically what is going to happen today. And he was right. He was 100% right. Now, I wanted to show you a number of other things. I got way ahead of myself there. Okay, so we're actually moving into this golden, age of Goshen. This is from Trey Smith's video from a year ago. Check out what he had to say here.
Now, 47 in Genesis is still within a wicked empire. That empire is Egypt. Egypt's one of its core symbols is the Ayin Ra, or the evil eye. But you have a man within Egypt, Joseph, who is...
So notice he said Egypt. He's talking about Goshen in Egypt. And what's interesting about this is that, and I'm going to get into this in a little bit, remember Egypt got all the plagues, right? But Goshen had light when Egypt had darkness. So we're entering into an age where we'll have light in the midst of darkness. Okay? So this, of course, was also predicted by Johnny, Enlow, many, many years ago, talking about this particular age. Now people are using this term all the time. It came from these guys. These guys are the ones that actually came up with this term, this phrase. Of course, he also had the 7 mountains, prophecy, which is now coming to pass. The GOV will be changed. Education will be changed. Matter of fact, today they're going into the Department of Education and actually they started yesterday and canceling lots of things that are all about the rainbow, which again goes back to the time we're in, the age that they were trying to bring us into. They were trying to bring us into the age of social, justice, Themis, and it failed. So now we're going in and we're doing the age of Goshen and removing all this stuff. Business, we're seeing that with movies. They're now changing. We're seeing that they're getting rid of some of this woke stuff. You see it with the media. The media landscape's changing. All these things are changing. You see that? It is exactly happening as he said it would. We're seeing it in real time. We're seeing also, according to Mark, Taylor, he mentioned that we will see all of these various groups, of course, fall, kind of like we saw with that 7 mountain thing. Things will all change. It also refers to the church, all the leadership in the church leading us astray because they keep us as a child. We never mature. These doctrines like I can't stop sinning is literally exactly what Alwas said to Aleister Crowley. You can't stop doing wrong. You won't be able to stop yourself. That's literally what the devil prescribed for this age that we were in, and that's literally the doctrine in a lot of churches. You see what I'm getting at? So this was actually false doctrine, and it's been spread, of course, everywhere. Very interesting that it was spread like that. Let's see. I wanted to get this back in the right place. One sec here. I'm trying to move something. Yes. Okay. I'm not doing a good job. Let's see if I can do it this way. Maybe this will help. There we go. Anyway, just give me a second. I'm trying to get something in the right place. For some reason, it's not in the right place. Okay. There it goes. All right, got it finally. So, okay, what do I want to show you next? So we have here, of course, one example of a televangelist. We're talking about the Lamb family. They're televangelists. I think I'm trying to remember what their TV show, not their TV show, their network's called. Just can't think of it from the top of my head. At any rate, let me play this really quick.
Our IT department found emails between the two containing lewd statements and another from Marcus that read, "I cannot wait to make you the next Mrs. Lamb." But even worse, Marcus and Joni completely lied. They weren't being blackmailed at all. They were being sued by 3 former employees, and the affair, along with the emails, were meant.
Okay, so it was called Daystar Network. I couldn't remember for some reason. A lot of these prosperity ministers working through this network, these two were over the network, and they were caught. So essentially, I think the wife knew about this affair for a long time. And they were getting sued by 3 different former employees at the same time. And to get ahead of it, they put out this statement that they were being not bribed. They were being essentially put in a corner, and they had to put out this information. So let's play the rest of this.
Mentioned in the lawsuit. Marcus and Joni were trying to get out in front of the lawsuit before the court documents were made public. On November 18th of 2010, the Lambs were served a letter stating they were being sued by their 3 previous Daystar employees. And wouldn't you know it, only 12 days later, Marcus and Joni aired their celebration broadcast in which they said they were victims of blackmail and admitted.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to remember, blackmail. I don't know, I can't remember. I'm having a hard time here, my friends. Okay, so they were saying or claiming that they were being blackmailed, but in reality, they were being sued by 3 different former employees. And I've seen some of the stuff where they had a lot of things behind lock and key. They were keeping different departments separated because they were hiding things. Their marketing department had a lock on it. I mean, that's kind of weird. Your marketing department should not have a lock on it. That's really kind of weird. And so it's just a lot of looking into this is very bizarre. But you have all these ministers. I'm sure you've seen numerous examples of these ministers falling left and right. This is God doing this. Okay, God is causing these people to fall because they were not right in the first place. He is choosing who will lead and who will not lead. That's what's going on with this whole thing. So, of course, they were trying to cover up a scandal with, apparently they're pretty used to doing this from what I can tell, lying or tricking people. And so, this is just one of 100. I'm sure you can think of numerous other examples of people that have fallen of recent. There's lots of them. So I don't think I need to name names, but Carl Lentz is a very obvious one. He was Justin Bieber's pastor, and apparently he had 5 different affairs or something. Like, really, bro? 5? Okay. So 5 affairs. And apparently his wife was okay with it, which is another really bizarre thing. But that's another time, right? That's another video. Anyway, so you get the idea. So the church, these predictions were saying that the leadership is going to be removed and good leadership is going to be put in its place. The GOV, education, the church, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, everywhere. And this is God doing this. This isn't just weird happenstance. This is and of course you even have, what's really ironic is you have ministers coming out against some of this stuff. Okay. Ministers coming because they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand this is God working. And they're like, literally speaking against some of the things that our president's doing, which is kind of interesting that they don't like some of the things he's doing. Oh, you're going to try to push God in school again. Really, bro? You're supposedly from God. You're supposedly a Christian, and you're saying that you're against that. Does that make any sense? Not really. So, of course, then you have this lady. You might have remembered her, Nala. She was an Only, of course, Fans person. And then she gave up the lifestyle, got married, and now she's a Christian, right? And then she's going around I find this really interesting, okay? So this came out 13 days ago on Michael No's channel. She's being interviewed, and they're asking, in the title, it literally asks, is she telling the truth or is she a liar? Right? Because there's a lot of people that don't believe her. And I happen to be one of them that doesn't. I mean, I believe that she's changed partially, but my whole point is that you'll see what I'm getting at. I'm going to show you some stuff, all right? Okay, so let me just show you this. This is kind of interesting. So this is some of her latest content. This is her latest content. I'm not joking. This is literally her latest content. I'm trying to show more, a little bit more on the screen. I can't even show any more on the screen. There we go. She's cooking food in her kitchen while making faces like this. I'm sure those faces look really familiar. I don't know. Where have I seen those faces before? Okay, so here, let's play this. Now, again, she used to be an Only, of course, fans, and now she's now a believer, and she's making content on Instagram and other places. She's got a huge following. She doesn't apparently know scripture very well because she doesn't even know that Jesus, of course, is God. She doesn't even know that, which is kind of amazing considering she actually went to church her entire life and her dad used to be a minister. But at any rate, so here she is cooking. Just tell me if it looks normal to you or not. My goodness, man. Are you getting hungry yet? Are you getting hungry?
For all I worship and adore.
I mean, look, literally the song is talking about, you heard the song, right? Worship and adore the woman. Like literally, this is what is being said in the song.
Please be true.
And of course, nothing going on there. I just accidentally hit my mic. I'm losing control here. I'm just messing with you guys. No, I thought it was a little interesting how she went from that one type of website to this. It's kind of weird. It almost reminds me of the same thing for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I mean, she's going like this with the thing. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. You just tell. I don't know. Maybe I'm just imagining things, right? Maybe I'm just imagining things, and she's completely changed. And she should be teaching Bible studies and things. I mean, she looks like she's really knowledgeable. Okay, so, and at any rate, let me play this really quick.
People were tagging me in it on social media, and they said, "See, Michael, here's proof that she lied to you." She said that she lied to you because she said she lied about everything on all these podcasts because mine was the first podcast that you went on. I thought, oh, maybe she lied to me. Then I looked at the context, though. That does not appear to be what you were saying.
It was not what I was saying, but people love clickbait.
And of course, they're talking about a clip where she said she was completely faking everything. And some people are saying, well, she's faking her faith. Well, that's not what she meant in the clip, but what's really interesting is her attitude, because she sounds very, very cocky when she comes off, when she's talking about all of this, and was acting very, very much like she was in the right, and she was saying a lot of stuff that wasn't. It was very obvious to me that like this was like a game to her. At least to me, in my mind, it feels like she's treating this as a game. I could be wrong. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but it just felt like that. All right, it just felt like it was a game to her. At any rate, so there's that. But and like I said, I mean, goodness gracious, what is she doing with her cooking show? It reminds me of there's another one called Cooking with Kaya. I don't know if you've ever seen that. A lot of guys like to watch it. I don't know if you've ever seen Cooking with Kaya. Let me show you that really quick. And a lot of women don't like it. Matter of fact, you just type in cooking. Just type in, let's see if I can get it on the screen better. Just type in cooking, not even the full word, Cooking with Kaya. Yeah, Cooking with Kaya. Here, let me show you this.
Welcome to another video. Cooking with Kaya. Cooking with Kaya. Cooking with Kaya. Cooking with Kaya.
Yeah, she's literally doing that. I can't even show it on the screen. It won't even fit. My browser won't fit to show you, but She was doing what you're thinking she was doing, all right? She was like jingling there a little bit. So, of course, a lot of people like watching her cook. A lot of guys are getting into cooking because of that. My whole point is that, what am I trying to get at? My point is that we were in the age of the woman, where she, of course, was at the top. And this was intentional. This was intentional. As I said, it's supposed to be the age of the child, and they would invert everything. So instead of being a child of God, you're the child of the devil. You're very individualistic, very selfish. The whole idea with the woman is it's supposed to be the man. Now it's the woman, and they invert it on purpose. So everything's backwards. This is the entire point behind this. This is why everything is the way it is. Okay. I mean, I could also bring up Girls Gone Bible, because they came out of nowhere and now have this Bible study, or whatever you want to call it. And, they're not exactly what I would call knowledgeable. Let's just put it that way. Not exactly what you call knowledgeable. Yet everyone's watching them. Why? Because they're beautiful. They're pretty, whatever you want to call it. So this is why people are watching it. So again, let's get over into some of this other stuff. So the next age was supposed to be justice. And here you have Iowas. This is the being that spoke to Aleister Crowley. It's the devil, identified as the devil. And it says right here, in the law is for all. Okay. He goes on at length in comparison to various other deities and spiritual concepts, but especially to the fool. So Iowas calls himself the fool. For example, he writes of Iowas, in his absolute innocence and ignorance, he is the fool. He is the savior, being the son who shall trample crocodiles and tigers and avenge his father Osiris. So this is very interesting. So let me show you what's going on here. So the devil, what he's doing is he's trying to mimic the King of Kings, but inverted. So again, if we really are in this age, this Satan's little season, he's trying to mimic God's season, 1,000 years, millennial reign, the Son of God. Now he's trying to be a son or child himself. So he calls it the age of the child, but he inverts everything. Instead of you being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, you're evil as a serpent and foolish as a dove. So he inverts it all. He inverts everything. Where he has the female, of course, on top. And it being, of course, gay, as I showed you with the Sibylline oracles. So this was the entire point behind this. And calls himself the fool. And he says his father is Osiris, so he's the son of Osiris. Let me show you that. Where is that at? I got it around here somewhere. I'm going to make a second video as well. Check it out. This is the actual being of the Harpocrates. That's the son of Osiris. And you can see it's a child. This is who Iowas said he was. The being that spoke to Aleister Crowley. Okay? So it's a false son, of God. This is what the entire point behind that is. And so this is how the devil set up this time. Now, what's really interesting, Psalm 14. Believe it or not, this is mistranslated. I didn't know this until yesterday. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works, etc., etc. This isn't the word God. It's Elohim, which means gods. And it means much more than just God, plural. The fool has said in his heart, there are no gods. Let me show you what it really means. It means rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. It says, the fool has said in his heart, there are no spiritual beings. There are no demons. There are no angels. There are no gods. There are no fallen angels. There's no watchers. There's none of that. The fool has said in his heart, there's none of these things. That's what it's actually saying. Why is that important? Because they set us forth to be in an age of atheism. And even in the church, you see that. They don't even believe in these giants. They don't believe the giants existed. They don't believe in the watchers. They don't believe that there were divine beings that were small g gods. They don't even understand that these myths, the Greek myths, the Titans, they were actually real beings. This is mentioned all in the Sibylline oracles. They don't believe in any of this. So if you're in the church, you don't really believe the devil can do anything. You don't believe in all that mumbo jumbo. You don't believe in all that spiritual mumbo jumbo. You don't believe in the devil really doing anything. God doesn't really talk to us anymore, doesn't do any of that stuff. You're like the fool that has said in his heart, there is no gods. There are no beings. There's no angels. There's none of that hocus pocus, right? You have it in the church. You have it outside the church. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson, all this kind of stuff, right? And it says that he wants to make us like him. We're in the age of the child, and he calls himself the fool. Iowas calls himself the fool. He's the child, he's the fool. And he turned us all into children and fools. Picking up from there with the fool concept, you also have the Egypt concept. Now, you remember earlier I mentioned that we were entering into the golden, of course, age, or the age of Goshen, and that these men all predicted this, and that, of course, the devil wanted the age of Themis. That was what his intent was. Now, the age of Themis was social justice, which, of course, we've seen that in our society. But it was also something else. A number of the writers from the theosophical side talked about us becoming one race. That was another part of the concept. Here's one of the writings right here. Practical Idealism, where they wrote this. Man of the distant future will be, of course, a hybrid. Today's races or, castes will change, fall victim to a growing defeat of space, time, and prejudice. The Eurasian, as you can read here, I'm not going to read it, they want to turn us into basically all mixed in some fashion, where we end up looking similar to an Egyptian. This is in multiple writings. These are the writings of these people from this sort of line of thinking. And lo and behold, what have we seen in the West? In England, America, pretty much everywhere. Bringing in, of course, the people who are from Arab countries, from countries where they have a different look. So then they want to mix. This is the entire point. And why? It sounds strange, right? Like, what would this have to do with anything, right? It seems odd, bizarre. And it seems to be something like a recreation of the Tower of Babel, where everyone is one person, one type of person. You see that, what I'm saying? It's like it was all separated by God, and the devil's trying to bring it back together, but in a sort of like bringing back the Tower of Babel kind of concept. So then everyone, and this is interesting, everyone at one time was a diversity of people, but now instead it will be a diversity of individuals. And then it comes back to that whole concept I mentioned earlier about individualism, where you only think about yourself, that you're an individual, that your needs, my selfishness, what I want. And that was essentially where they were trying to take this entire thing. It's really kind of bizarre when you look into it. At any rate. All right, so I'm going to get into more of this over on my other channel because I'm only halfway done. There's like a lot more. And I don't want to make this a super, super long video. So you're going to definitely want to check out my other channel, God Rules 2, for the continuation of this. I'm going to get into the whole thing with the baby boomers and how they went very much astray with this entire topic, how that led to a lot of us entering into this time. I'm going to get into actually a ton of other stuff. I'm going to get into, what else do we got here? Oh, yeah. Some other scriptures that relate to this. Sheep in the midst of wolves. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into also this one here. How we're supposed to be according to 1 Corinthians 14 and how it's the exact opposite. I'm going to get into also a number of other things, apocryphal stuff, and much more. And also get into some other stuff. At any rate, go check it out on the other channel. Kind of wonder what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comments section below, and thanks for watching.